I would like to discuss or present to you a new initiative called AMEA. And we are a group of organizations from all over the world coming together on a very ambitious mission to pull this off. And my purpose of today is, one, to inform you about AMEA. Two is get your phones away. So I'll be looking for that. And three is to see if this sparks any interest for you to perhaps work with us to come on board, because there's so much to do and we really will need all the help that we can get. Alan already described our mission in two very interesting ways. We're here to professionalize farmers because that's what we believe in. And we believe that we are building a new way to do that on a global scale much more efficiently than have been done so far. So the title is Professional Farming on a Global Scale. A little bit about why we are doing this. There are, I think, three reasons why. By the way, I'm Dutch. And that means that I can sometimes be that style number two, uninformed and a little bit blunt. So here you have it. So I think there are a couple of reasons why our current efforts, and there's not a lack of efforts, there's not a lack of money, and there's not a lack of good intentions, but why some of these efforts are not necessarily working the way it should be. One is there are worldwide thousands and thousands of organizations working with farmers, and they all have their own way. They're all doing it in a different way, and it's a completely fragmented landscape. That the way they're working on it is not often very much connected to what markets want. If you talk to local banks, if you talk to input providers, if you talk to value chain players, in many cases they're saying, listen, the projects that are happening are not delivering what we need to do business with them. And so there's a disconnect between what markets want and what we're doing in the field, fragmented and a disconnect. And because of this, I think a lot of our efforts are expensive and not always risk reducing. So the system that we're building is not really delivering for what markets want. And so this is something that we would like to tackle with this quality system. 9 organizations in total came together. You see them here. Eco Corporation, which is here. There's Jaap Jan over there. Very good. IFC, you've already introduced. There's Manas, there's Dieter, Manas, Ellen, Dieter, and that's it. Sorry? Hello, go. Yeah, there's Brad. IDH, who's not here. Vico, Vredeseilander, there. Yes, Roos and Chris, very good. Scope Inside, myself. ACD Voca was already introduced. Eben Ember, Archidius, NCB Clusa. So these are the 9 organizations that came together to rally behind this new way of working. And the mission that we have had is quite an ambition, is to set the global standardized quality system that professionalizes farmer organizations and allow them to have access to business opportunities. So it's building a system, a quality system, that professionalizes farmers. And quality system is perhaps a very technical term, but in essence it means how can we create a system that consistently delivers professional farm organizations so that the market wants to do business with them in a consistent way, in a cost-efficient way. And why professionalism? Well, we believe that professionalism is the kickstart of a positive change cycle. First of all, professional farmer organizations have the ability to produce more food, have the ability to do that in a more sustainable way. They have the ability to create more living income out of it and create more jobs. So professionalism is a good thing. More importantly, besides it's good for them, they also offer a good business opportunity for banks, for input providers, for service providers. Everybody who wants to do business with farmers wants to do that with the more professional ones. So that in turn, the farmers get what they need, can invest and become even more professional. As simple as it sounds, this is the positive cycle that we believe in. We want to kickstart this cycle on a global scale. The question is, how do you do that in a systemic way? Because like I said earlier, we don't think that professionalism on a global scale is the outcome of more projects. If you want to do this on a global scale, you need to build a system. And the system consists of 2 main elements, and these elements need to come together in a consistent way. One is farmer professionalization. How do you bring a farmer from a certain level upwards? How do you measure that? How do you do that in a more effective way? How do you build this track record? 2, once it is on a certain level, how do you link it to banks, input providers, and the service providers so that they actually recognize the more professional farmers and their response will be, I want to do business with you. And so when these two things come together in a systemic way, we have built a system. And then some of the words that are part of that is that it needs to be holistic. Again, it's not a project. We need a sort of ecosystem where everybody plays their role. We cannot have one organization that tries to do it all. Everybody has their part to play in this system. It needs to be scalable on a global scale. That requires many forms of standardization, but of course also taking into account local context and localization. It needs to be cost efficient and very effective. This needs to be driven by the market eventually. So cost efficiency is very important. Like I said, market driven, recognized by the market. Whatever we do, market players will need to recognize it and actually say, I want to do business with you. And we will not get it right in the first place. So the system needs to facilitate continuous learning and continuous improvement. So that's a little bit the theory. So how would that work? Again, very simplified. We have created, as part of this quality system, an assessment methodology that measures the level of business professionalism. So how good is this pharma organization in running its organization as a business? How good is it in management, in financial literacy, in sourcing, in selling, in agronomy, all of the important business elements that are part of running it as a business. So that's the assessment that we've created, and we will be briefly explaining it in a little bit. So that's the kickstart of it. That's standardized input number 1. Standardized input number 2 will be presented at the second part of this morning, which is once we have done this assessment, do we know how to help the farmers actually become better over time, how to professionalize them? And for that, we need training materials that actually link to those elements that the farmer needs help with. So this is the curriculum that will be presented by IFC. We're very proud that they pulled together a lot of resources and very smart people to build these training materials 100% linked to the assessment. Standardized element number 3 is, do we have an opinion about who actually does the capacity building? That's pretty important. If you want to have a credible system, not only do you need to know what are the strengths and weaknesses, how do we help farmers to graduate, but you also want to know that they've been supported by the right capacity builders. So standardized input number 3 is we're going to build something of an accreditation so that we know we're working with the better capacity builders. 3 elements together in a triangle, 100% aligned to each other or integrated, creates that quality system. This is how we measure, this is how we train, and this is the trainers that we work with. And now we can start learning and improving together. Applying this looks something like this. If you can read it, it starts with an assessment. Based on that assessment, you'll know exactly the strengths and weaknesses of that farmer organizations from a business point of view. You'll use that to create your intervention plan. You use the capacity building. Good morning. You use the capacity building to help them move upwards. You do another assessment. You will see them hopefully score higher. Meanwhile, you can do that a few times. Meanwhile, you're building their track record. They have gone from a 1 to a 2 to a 3 to a 4. And at some point, they create a good business opportunity for banks, input providers, and they will want to do business with them. And so, like I said, this is the theory how it would work in practice. And what is the role of AMEA? Is to create these standardized 3 inputs, the assessments, the curriculum, and the accreditation, and to facilitate this linking, this graduation process and the linking with markets, but also the learning from it. And now we're creating a global system. Pretty easy in theory. In practice, perhaps not so easy. But we have gone a long way since we started. This is not just an idea. We came together, we have created these assessment methodologies. This afternoon will be, or this morning will be presenting this curriculum. Overall, there are 1,400 assessments have taken place, 1,400 producer organizations in more than 40 different sectors. We have trained more than 160 assessors already who are able to use these assessments. And in total, we have reached 2.1 million farmers. Very small still, but on our way. And the next step is to build that accreditation system and actually to start linking this in a more structural way to markets. Very shortly on how do we measure it. This is how we look at it. 9 chapters or 8 chapters, the 9th is financial performance, looks at how we measure professionalism. This is not certification. I used to come from that world. This is not you're certified or you're not certified. You're in or you're out. We're ticking the boxes. That's not like this. This is, we have captured the main success and fail factors of running your farmer organization as a business. And we have translated that into a 1 to 5 score. 5, he's managing a plan, do, check, act, continuous improvement, best in class. And 1, there's no management at all. And then we have developed different maturity levels on how to manage these issues. And we have spelled out what it means to be a 1, a 2, a 3, or 4, or 5. And that means that on all of these issues, we can relatively quickly score. From that will come sub-scores that will create an overall score. And that will give you an idea on how professional this farm organization is. The interesting thing is that the chapters that you see here, and if you want to know, you want to learn more about it, we're more than happy to share more details. But these chapters that you see here, management, sourcing, contracting, agronomy, financial record keeping, things like that, are generic issues. They are not specific to cocoa. They're also true for coffee or for other crops. And so the methodology that we have created can be applied in almost or in every primary production sector. And now we can compare different organizations together. And that makes it part of a global system. And so this is very quickly an overview of a client, a real life overview of a client that done many more assessments. But here are 20. And you can see almost immediately that if you look at your suppliers, there's quite a spread. Some are pretty good, others are relatively weak. And you can see where are they good, on what sub-chapters. You can see the patterns of strengths, you can see the patterns of weaknesses, and then this information becomes part of an improvement cycle. You see, you can ask questions like, do we actually know how to help farmers become better over time? Do we actually can we segment the better ones from the not so good ones, and with the better ones go to banks and the not so good ones help them become better? Or perhaps some of these organizations will start wondering if they should continue the relationship with some of the suppliers at all. So this information is not static, it becomes part of a continuous improvement cycle. Information that is also coming out of it is the spread. Which one are scoring better, which one are scoring lower, who are the outliers, why is that? So there's a lot of intelligence that comes out of this information. Every assessment that takes place gives another 100, 120 data points into the system. With that information, we can start learning as an AMEA community, where are we good, where are we not good, what are the differences between countries, what are the differences between sectors, what can we learn from one country and take it to another country, who is better at helping farmer professionalizations compared to others. There's a lot of data mining and data feedback that we can get from this global system. And I don't want to steal the thunder of IFC, but they will present it in the second part of this morning. This curriculum is a crucial element of this quality system. It is based on the assessments, you get a detailed insight in their strengths and weaknesses. What are they good at and what are they not good at? Based on that, you can create your customized intervention plan. No longer one size fits all or one-dimensional interventions. We now exactly know what we need to do to make it a better business. Based on that, you can create classroom trainings, but you can also, which is part of the curriculum, create a more coaching processes afterwards. All with the intention to graduate the farmers upwards, build a track record, and then eventually link to the market. So why, last slide, why is AMEA unique? I don't think we're unique because we're focusing, we want to help farmers, because everybody here wants to help farmers. I think we're unique because we have a dedicated focus on professionalism, on business professionalism, because we believe that's the basis for everything. Once they're more professional, now let's talk climate, smart agriculture. Now let's talk social and sustainability issues. Now let's talk productivity increases. It starts with, do they run their business, their organization as a business? The second thing why we think we're unique is because we're building a global system. No more, many more projects, but let's standardize parts of it as much as possible, how we measure, how we help with the intervention, and how we link to markets. The assessment that we are using does two things. One is it speaks the language of capacity building, how do you move them upwards? And two, it ticks many of the boxes that banks and input providers will be looking for, and with that we'll be reducing costs, we'll be reducing risks, and link the supply and demand together. There are enormous synergetic effects in this network. Everybody plays their role, and together we can create a much more efficient system. And it's data-driven, benchmarked. Every time an assessment is being done, we can compare, and more data we can use to actually say where do we need to learn and how are we going to do that. So that's the mission that these 9 organizations, which I mentioned before, is on. We're not ready yet, but we're developing now very quickly, and we'll certainly be looking for your support. Thank you so much.